Once you've gotten all this information and the pros and the benefits of structuring your application the right way, when does this process begin? Like, if you were a parent of a young child, at what age do you start trying to have some intentionality for aiming for a college?
Right. Great question. A lot of confusion around this. So if you go by the typical timeline that's given to your student or given to you as the parent from your high school guidance counselor, what they're going to tell you is that it typically starts junior year and really starts to pick up the spring of junior year. A couple reasons for this. Why is it the spring of junior year? Well, guidance counselors are really busy with their seniors getting applications out in the fall, right? The fall of the senior year. They don't have time to talk to anybody else. But once that fall semester is over, the guidance counselors have largely gotten their applications out for the seniors, and now the seniors are just waiting on where they got in. So now guidance counselors have time to talk to the juniors, right? Which is why it always happens during the springtime. And during the springtime and during the fall of junior year, guidance counselors might tell students to take the PSAT, maybe take the SAT for real or ACT in the spring, and that's when really college visits really get going. But let's play out the timeline. So when you look at the applications themselves, you apply for admissions to college in the fall of senior year, typically, right? You also apply for financial aid at the same time, typically fall, winter, senior year. Now, specifically on the financial part, so we're recording in the fall of 2025. So let's just pretend that if you have a high school senior now, you filled out the financial aid forms now. The financial aid forms are based on your most recently completed tax returns. So in fall of 2025, your most recently completed tax return is for the calendar year that spans 2024. But if you think about what grade your kid was in during calendar year 2024 and work backwards, that's really the spring of sophomore year through that summer through the fall of junior year. That's known as the base year. So if your kid's going to go to college in fall of 26, you apply to financial aid in fall of 25 using the tax return for 2024. That's why we call it a prior tax year, right? Because it's 2 years prior to the year you are in college or you're going to be. So now think about what I just said, right? Most families and pretty much every timeline you get from every high school guidance counselor, you don't think about college of any sort until junior year and really spring of junior year. But I just said that financially you have to start, right? Your base year starts spring of sophomore year, right? So it starts earlier than parents think. And so if there are certain financial strategies that might make sense, so sometimes we'll talk about gifting. If parents, let's say, have non-qualified investments, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever, or they own their own business, there's some income shifting strategies or even gifting strategies. I typically would love to have parents start as early as freshman year of high school because it gives us time to do stuff and get it done before it hits the tax return of when it makes a difference, right? Because remember, a financial aid form and a tax return always show what has already happened. You can't go back and unring that bell. So if you're going to do anything, right, you need to get it done before the tax return or the financial aid form reporting period so that it already happened so it doesn't hit the tax return that'll negatively impact you. Now, of course, what people say to me then is my kid just got to high school, right? My kid's a freshman in high school, but my kid just got there and you want me to start talking about college already? It's like, yeah, we can make some estimates and I can give you sort of the landscape of how the world works and stuff and whatever. Now, on the admissions side, it starts that early too. So we talked about like sort of the extracurriculars, right? You're better off having one extracurricular that you did all 4 years of college versus having 4 1-year activities, right? Because you show they can stick with it in the 4-year example. So that's got to start freshman year. Another thing also that a lot of parents don't think about is there are 2 standardized tests. There's SAT and ACT. They're very different tests. Colleges accept both. But especially here in the Northeast, we're very SAT centric. There's no question. You're taking the SAT, right? And if you score high enough, great, you submit it. If you don't, you don't. But how do you know your kid is going to be better at the SAT? So I tell families like you want to maybe take a practice SAT maybe sophomore year and maybe take a practice ACT sophomore year. Figure out which one you're better at. right? And then whichever one that is, then when you take it for real, that's the one you want to focus on. You don't want to find out like the end of your junior year that you're bombing the SAT and all along you would have been better at the ACT or vice versa, because that's kind of too late, right? You want to figure this out beforehand. So it really starts both on the missions and financial side, it starts way earlier than most people think.